One moment, please. Okay.
I'd like to call to order the May 23rd, 2023 Park and Recreational Board meeting. Can we please rise for the pledge? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. All right. Mr. O'Shea, roll call, please.
All right, Barb Tousley,
Present.
Cindy Suze,
Here.
Mike Moffett,
Here.
and Dave Beeshold.
Present. And Councilman Aurelio is with us tonight.
Present.
Right. Legal Nicole Bennett. Okay, good to go. Item number 4, consent agenda, claims. Mike?
So in front of you, got the claims for the meeting here. It equals a sum of $348,201.30.
Okay, and that is encompassing for the month of
That would
April, right?
Yes, yes.
Okay. I know it's a long list, it's multiple pages. It included some of the Founder's Park,
Yeah, the pay 8, which we had on last meeting
Correct.
agenda, that's on here.
and some of the Gates Park engineering, correct?
They have submitted invoices.
Okay.
They've submitted 3 invoices, but they have not been paid out yet.
Okay.
We have that further down on E there for new business
Right.
that we just gotta update.
This obviously consumes April and May.
Yeah, well, yeah, invoices through May 23rd, so that was May 9th. I think it was May 9th
Yeah,
is
May 9th.
when the cutoff was due. So it's
Okay.
from mid-April to May 9th, I believe it is.
Okay. Any questions or concerns from anyone? I know it's a lot to take in. If no questions and concerns, then I will entertain a motion to accept the claims as posted for the month of April and part of May.
So moved.
I have a first. Do I have a second?
I will second that.
Okay, Cindy will second it. So we have a motion, we have a second. All in favor of taking the claims for these as posted here for the month of April and part of May, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. All right, minutes from the April 25, 2023 Park and Recreational Board meeting. There again, you have them posted in front of you. This was something that Cindy was a part of, so she's able to acknowledge that. Anyone have any issues, questions, or concerns about the minutes? Hearing none, I will entertain a motion to accept the minutes of the April 25, 2023 Park Board and Recreational Board meeting.
Barb Tousley, so made.
Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
All right, so I have a motion, I have a second to accept the minutes from the Tuesday meeting of April 25th, 2023. All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, the minutes pass. Okay. New business. First on the agenda, we're going to welcome the people from Emberly Smile. They're here to give us a little presentation of something that they would like to, we did receive some of it in your packet that was emailed to you. I don't know if you had a chance to look it over. It's an interesting concept. I'm excited about it, and here to present it tonight are the members.
For some reason, I couldn't get it to play.
You can step right up to the microphone.
Hello, good evening.
Hi.
My name's Amy. This is Rachel and Tim. We're here on behalf of Emberly Smiles, and we're going to tell you a little bit more about what we've been up to since December. So our mission is to support children with special needs in their communities. And here, are you guys changing?
There it
we
is.
go. This is Emberly Reese Brazil. She was one strong little girl in her 7 years of life while she battled Rett syndrome. We wish to share her love and continued smiles with other special needs children in their communities by funding projects that can help children with special needs feel included and bring joy and smiles. Thank you. Kind of get synced up here. Emberly Smiles is a nonprofit organization. It started in memory of Emberly Reese Brazil, forever 7, who passed away in June of 2020. Emberly suffered with Rett syndrome and was nonverbal. Her main way to communicate was with eye gaze and use of a Tobii eye gaze machine. One thing Emberly loved was the park. She would tell you on her Tobii that what she would like to do at the park, mostly go fast on the swings. Emberly was also in a wheelchair, so while the park was fun, what parks we could visit was limited, but her smiles were endless when she got there. Our goal is to enable other children with special needs to have access to parks in their community, where they can feel included with everyone else. Through fundraising efforts, we will strive to improve parks and include activities for all types of abilities. We hope to spread more smiles, just like Emberly's, the happiness of playing. Our mission is helping to give access to the community areas for children with special needs, and it's a tough task. We want all children to feel included in their communities, especially when it's time to play. We aim to provide as much accessibility as possible, but we cannot achieve our goals alone. Since December, our first meeting was December 21st, 2022. Our first fundraiser was in January of 2023. We have successfully raised almost $20,000 since we started with our first fundraiser. We plan to use these funds to purchase communication boards like the one you see here for parks starting in Northwest Indiana and hopes to extend in the Midwest and beyond. So, I want to add boards, so what do we do next? Emberly Smiles will visit your parks to decide what tiles need to be added. These tiles here, they're all interchangeable to meet the needs of your park. Each board can be tailored to your park and what equipment is there already. For example, a baseball park, a merry-go-round, etc. We use a local company called Tradewinds who help serve and employ people with special needs. The communication board can then be installed for an added price to the cost of the board, or if you prefer to install them yourself, you can do that as well. Emberly Smiles will help your park director on where the boards will be placed within a park, and they'll be fully funded by Community Resources and the Emberly Smiles nonprofit. With the community resources, we may reach out to the St. John community for a future fundraiser, or maybe businesses in the community that may want to put their name on this board and fund a whole board themselves. An example of the communication board, but we were able to get it in person today. We can change the size, tiles, location of the board to fit your park's needs. It's also anti-graffiti, so it can withstand elements of nature as well as any graffiti. Depending on the size will depend on the price, but the average cost is about $235 before installation. I put a link in here for a link to the GoFundMe to help support our mission, and then our website if you're interested in learning more about Emberly, Rett syndrome, and Emberly Smiles.
One of the ways that this would work is that, so Emberly in a wheelchair would use her eye gaze. Normally her computer, she would look at these buttons on the screen and it would talk for her. That was her voice. But when we went to the park taking that computer that was $20,000 to the park with running children all around was kind of a crazy concept. But kids who use that same program, they use it in the schools locally, or another form of it. So they're used to these images. So this isn't something that children are unfamiliar with, and adults. So my daughter, she would roll up to this, and I would use eye gaze with her if we were at the park. And she would look, and I'd say, oh, do you want this one? Do you want this one? What are you trying to say to me? And she was good with her yeses and nos to be able to tell me. Other children who are able to be mobile would be able to walk up to the sign and then touch what they want to do. So we've kind of worked on the proper type for children in wheelchairs versus even little ones who could use the board that way. Sometimes people want to know, how does it actually work? But kids, they figure it out. And a lot of parents already whose children are nonverbal are already carrying around picture cards. But again, you're carrying around a binder of pictures where you want to go. So this is already tailored to your park. They can use easily.
And this is Rachel Emberly's mom, so she knows this firsthand. Does anyone have questions?
Well, thank you guys for coming out. What would you like us to do in partnership with you?
You can
We
go ahead.
would just love you to say yes, and then we will, work with you to figure out which parks you would like these in. No mission is too big. We know Hobart has already asked for 19 of them. We have the fairgrounds is getting one in Crown Point. So we are open to as many as you would like. I know Hobart's even using some like by their walking trails. So it's up to you where you think, it would benefit your community. We can also work with you on that. But then we would work on where do you want it placed? What's the best location in each park? And then we would work on taking actual photographs of the equipment if needed and putting them in the sign and getting them, put, wherever you'd like them installed. So it's really just approval from you to say, yeah, we'd like this in your parks, and then which one.
We have, oh, go ahead.
Well, the cost of each board approximately is,
$235 for the board.
But that comes from us. There's no
Oh,
cost to you
no,
for
I-
anything.
I can get you money.
Installation is then, is it $75
Yes.
for each board?
So
And we can do that, or if you prefer to have it done a specific way, a certain way, you're welcome to do that as well.
I know Hobart Parks was putting some on their buildings and prefer to do it themselves. We've kind of talked as an organization, looking to sponsor the first 3 boards in a community before asking them for a fundraiser or community sponsors in that community to kind of help us with that.
I think it's a great idea. I mean, our last 3 or 4 parks, the bigger parks that we put in, we've really been working with the accessibility in the parks with the swings, that the one that has the little,
Right.
I mean, something like this I think would be great.
I do
Like
too.
I also work at Lake Central, we have those emergency buckets. We just, in the last 2 weeks, start putting these, getting out to the teachers and putting one of these in every bucket, just in case someone, they lock up or whatever, and they can only use their hands or their eyes or whatever.
Absolutely, and a lot of people will think that with accessibility, they'll say, oh, you could go to the park, there's some swings you could use there, but it's not just about being able to get there, it's once you get there, then how do you communicate?
I think it's great.
And we got 22 playgrounds, 23 parks that are used, including the dog park would be 23. So, I mean, I think if we're going to do one, I think we should do all
They all have playground equipment?
22 of them, at least the 22 parks with playgrounds. That would be my recommendation.
I agree. I see this as just a small step in making it easier for all.
Yeah,
And no,
I can see.
when I
having-
first got the email, I read it and I was like, wow, great idea. I think it's great.
Thank you.
Yeah. And I'll have to talk to you because you just need to go to, start and go to the Lions clubs and for fundraisers.
We did go to bingo.
We did, and we're going to their meeting in September, so,
What town?
I'm in Crown Point.
In Crown Point, very good club. I will give them a call tomorrow too, because there are matching grants that they can apply for from the state. There's international grants, but this unfortunately is not enough money, but they can get a matching grant from the state. Not all the clubs know about that, but I'll give them a call tomorrow.
Thank you.
They're a very lovely club.
Well, any other questions,
What do
comments,
we-
concerns?
Well, what do we have to do at this point then?
We need to have a motion to accept a partnership agreement with Amberley Smiles.
Yeah,
What
and then I'll
type of-
work with them.
what
I'll work
type-
with them for the parks, or where they're going to be and all that stuff, and
Right.
then do it.
Is there a financial obligation to us at this point?
Other than the signages themselves, whether we decide to do it or have it probably done.
I mean, I think there's organizations in town who would be love to participate in.
Well, I would
The
agree.
size of the money is a small thing. I mean,
I think that it would make sense, at least initially, to hit the 3 or 4 big parks that we have and start there and then add them as we go in the course of, a timetable. I don't know.
And we're happy to reach out to businesses, local businesses, if they want to sponsor a board. We do have fundraising money to help get it started, but that will, as we keep expanding, that will run out. So we're
No,
looking for
no,
more ways
no.
to fundraise and look out for business and community ways to raise more money.
We will, I mean, that's our legwork.
Yep,
So
Yeah.
that's all on us.
Do we want to commit X amount, times X amount of $75 for the installation, or, I mean,
I was thinking, we should, like, if we're doing 22, like, put like $100 towards a board or something, or something like that. Is that what you're thinking, or?
yeah, I
Like,
mean,
is that-
you know,
are we on the
that's
same-
what I'm thinking, and, you know, if we
Just to
want to do
kinda
something,
offset
let's
their-
look at a money value associated with it at the initial. You know, I really think businesses and some of the community service organizations in town would be more than thrilled to get their name on something like this.
Patrick, can you help out in this venture? As far as he's our events guy, so he would be the guy that would help us, you know, reach out to sponsors or potential businesses in the town that could, you know, maybe partnership, you know, personal signs or whatever. But yeah, I think the cost is nominal.
Yeah.
I think if we did the installation for 22, it would be $2,650.
You know, that doesn't give the community an option, the community service things an option to
Oh, yeah,
do
yeah,
it. And
yeah.
I think I'm thinking about doing now like 10 of them, and now let's see whether we can get the other 12, you know, from business or somebody else. I mean, the money is so small that I can see a lot of people buying into this.
Nicole, would it be smart for us to settle a ceiling on what we would spend as a board and something like this?
If you're inclined to put a ceiling on it, or if you're inclined to make a commitment for whatever the value is you want, and obviously it's an up to that,
Right.
where then that leaves the funds appropriated for the full payment if needed, but obviously then any sponsorships, any community donations, it sounds like they have a very good mechanism already in place on how you work with kind of that combination that would allow for both options.
Sure.
But then the money otherwise is appropriated to be used if needed. Obviously, between Patrick and Mike, they can report back as to where that is and what other efforts need to be made. But I would recommend setting it out as a high end, as a maximum, or up to, or not to exceed.
That makes sense,
Yeah,
Barb?
yeah, that
You
makes
you happy with
I'm
that?
happy with that,
Sue?
yeah.
You?
Yeah, I just don't want
Cindy,
us to
Ryan?
do it and then,
You happy with that? We set a ceiling?
so what was the other number?
If the installation, if we did 22 at $75, that's $2,650
Right.
for the install,
Well,
having it done.
why don't we round it up to $3,000 so that we have a little wiggle room? And we would entertain then a motion to accept an agreement here with Emberly Smiles and to partnership with them in putting the signage up in our parks, starting with some of our bigger parks and then moving on to some of our smaller parks. Some of them are neighborhood parks, some of them are community parks. But we would love to be involved. I will entertain a motion not to exceed $3,000 at our end if we're all in agreement.
And Barb Tusley, I'll make that motion then.
Okay?
A second?
Okay, got a motion from Barb, I got a second from Mike. We'll have a vote. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. Great.
Thank you.
We're excited.
We're excited.
Barb can maybe give you some of her information.
Yeah.
That way you guys can communicate and we can, as quickly as you can get them made up, we'll take care of it. And I think that's fantastic. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming. Appreciate it very much. Oh. Mhm. Yeah. All right, while she's passing on that information, we'll move on to item B, American Structure Point, review of facility needs assessment and parked impact fee studies update. And for that, we have some people here from American Structure.
Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
My name's Dan McCluskey, Senior Architect with American Structure Point. Matthew O'Rourke is going to join us up at the podium here in a little bit to talk about the impact fee side, and also David Baird is on the line. Jason Boudry is my teammate from Synergy Sports. He wasn't able to make it tonight. His daughter's graduating in North Carolina, so he had to change his plans at last minute. We do apologize. So this is kind of an update, kind of a summary of where we're at. Me specifically on the indoor sports and recreations feasibility. Thank you very much. Awesome, great. Middle button, maybe, or like left or right, down. Oh, okay. Middle button. Got it. There you go. Okay, cool. So over the last few months, I've been certainly working with Mike and Dave on, oops, it kept going.
Sorry.
That's all right. So we wanted to, so on the Synergy Sports side of the world, they've run the numbers really. It's been a in-depth study about the demographics of your area, your town, and how that can support a facility like this. So, just to start off, we looked at the demographics and socioeconomics of the sort of a 30-minute drive of this area. Those might be the people that would be served by a facility like this. Not only residents, but also other interested parties, depending on the park's programming that could be developed for a facility like this. 94,000 residents within a 5-mile radius. 5-mile median household income of approximately $96,000. And then, you guys are kind of biased a little bit in the 30-mile radius because you're hitting into the Chicago market. And we tried to not ignore, but, really understand through, some discussions amongst the group that we really wanted to focus on the success and the current status of St. John more locally. Well, certainly, I don't know whether we can, share the file that I have up on the screen that you guys have, or I can certainly send out a blue beam. I'm sorry?
Fine.
We have it right in front.
Well, I mean, in the future, for you guys to further review these numbers down the road, I can certainly make a PDF for everybody's record and check it out.
The PowerPoint will actually be on the website at the end of the meeting.
Okay, great. So in general, and I know Dave and Mike has noted, you guys are growing, certainly, so we feel very comfortable that a facility like this can be successful, and we then would move into understanding, what are those people doing in this area, and we have also some backup information that we'll provide after this summary of what are the things that people have participated in. Key thing would be basketball. Approximately 5,100 people within a 10-minute drive participated in paid programs. And then, participation in that area is about approximately 3% higher than the national average. Volleyball is also a very hot sport in anywhere, but particularly in this region. It certainly is an event that people are participating in. And then fitness, yoga, Zumba, those are going to inform some components of the building that are more used in maybe a flex space, or maybe there are some specific spaces within a building that would be specific to those needs. So with that information in mind, we feel an ideal facility is approximately 40,000 square feet. That would include 3 high school regulation courts for the basketball side, that would accommodate 2 cross-court volleyballs, pickleball courts, which are a very hot sport these days. Fitness space, that's can kind of be right-sized. I believe in the diagrams we're going to show you, we're sitting at around 4,000 square feet of fitness. And that can certainly be scaled and adjusted as we would go into more of a design phase. And again, talking about the aerobics, the yoga, those kind of things would kind of flow into a more of a flex kind of space. And that flex space could also be used for small conferences or rented party space. And then maybe there's a small cafe or concession stand within the facility. So this process wasn't specifically about designing a building, but we certainly wanted to see what those spaces could come together like, and inform that total square footage that we've discussed. So this diagram is only that. It's about the sort of the light blue color you can see is meant to be some sort of circulation spine to the building. And then the basketball on one side, the red would be the fitness, blue could be some family lockers, or gender neutral or specific gender restrooms and locker rooms. The purple could be the flex space, and the light green be more like the office space or control space. So to speak to the massing of the building, it was more just to verify that's the right size of the components of those pieces and what it informs as the total. Another piece that we would recommend, advising, looking into as you would think about a facility like this are what are the needs, site needs to the building. We haven't, the information we gathered didn't specifically talk about soccer, but or baseball really. But I know you guys have certainly a series of fields around the town, specifically Heartland Park. We've talked about internal to these meetings that we've had. They've got baseball, so maybe there's other land that is available that we could size up for and use for the soccer component, outdoor venues. Approximately 2.5 acres per field needed. Approximately 2 acres for plus or minus 200 parking spots for a facility like this. Approximately 2 acres for the building and its adjacent space. Perhaps there's some playground space and other outdoor spaces for gathering lumped into that. So roughly about 7 to 8 acres required for a project like this. And as we've said, this right-sized facility includes those indoor rec programming for the community. Certainly something that the Parks and Rec Department can, and we've talked about is two courts right or 3 courts right, was certainly the demand for basketball or court space in general. And I think it was Mike's thought that really, you gotta think about it day one, unless budget comes into play for maybe more of a future expansion or a phase 2. But that's why we landed on that three court design. Development of additional teams, leagues that would be encouraged by this type of facility. Creation of new parks and rec programs, and small local and sub-regional tournaments. We certainly, in these discussions, determined we aren't, you guys aren't trying to be a tournament destination, more of a community asset and a Parks and Rec asset. Non-sports events, that court space can certainly be used for a myriad of things other than athletics. Economic impact, there's some fine-tuned numbers in here, but in general, it's certainly going to have a tax-based increase based on visitors coming to see Johnny and Susie play, for other businesses in the area. This is information that my teammate Jason Boudry has access to of how does a facility this size, what does it relate to in an economic impact. Job creation, not only for the facility, but also other supporting businesses. In summary, I think this process was in an effort to ensure that this could be financially stable, not necessarily a big revenue generator or a tremendous profit, but certainly a maintainable size facility to make a great community asset. With that, I'll kind of wrap up the needs assessment for the rec center facility. And if you have any questions before I turn it over to Mr. O'Rourke.
I know I've sat in on the Zoom meeting, so I've been a part of this process so far. So I don't want to bore anybody with. We've kind of hashed out some of the ideas and concepts that we had. Mike and I talked about it. We kind of thought the 3 basketball court thing was the way to go. It's a difference of about 8,000 or 9,000 square feet, I think.
Yeah, that's right.
So, I mean, you know, from the size of our growth and the rapidness of our town growth, I think, build it first and have it in place so that you can grow into it. And I think we could grow into that almost by the time it's actually meets fruition. I don't know if anybody else has any questions.
I think it's something that this area needs. Like I said before, we are a premier location to move into. Our house amounts dictate that. And I think when people move in, they, you know, are looking for this type of facility to accommodate, you know, their individual needs.
Anything, Mike? Okay, where do we go from here?
Well, I think we'll certainly provide this information to you. I mean, we could get into a next step of site, you know, a site study. I know we've talked about a couple different sites. I don't know how much, how public those, you know, discussions are. So we wanted to keep those, you know, kind of confidential. But like I said, you know, understanding the size and, you know, whether we talked a little bit more about more outdoor fields, we could get into a next phase. I mean, if we wanted to just, you know, bite it off and, you know, start moving, more of a conceptual phase where we get a bit more into the programming of and design of the building, and then at your pace and, you know, funding kind of ideas, how to move this forward in a, you know, next year, or, you know, I want to understand your guys' schedule of how you would want to move forward too.
Councilman, any questions?
Not at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
Grand idea for sure, and something like this is needed. What is your experience with public-private partnerships with stuff like this?
It depends on finding the right developer to bring that capital fund. I don't have a lot of experience, but generally the ones I've worked on are direct municipality paid for, not a public-private partnership. But we certainly know some people that through Jason's firm and ours, I think there might be some developers that could be interested in something like this.
Okay, thanks.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Do we need to make a motion?
No, it's just
This
more
is just a general information. We're in the beginning process. Dan's gonna come up and talk about the park impact fee, which is something that we need to move forward on because our 5-year agreement is running out, and we need to move forward with that and reassess that. So he's here to talk more about that. Dan?
Go to the next slide. There we go. Good evening, everybody. My name is Matthew O'Rourke.
Sorry, Matthew.
That's all right. That's Dan, Matt. We switch
right.
names all the time in the
You're all,
office
you're
too.
all,
Just to
you're
mess
all
up.
Irish. That's where I get confused.
That's right. We're all Irish. So
That's not bad. But
So, awesome. Essentially, we're running these are two separate processes, so to speak, but when we talked about it, you know, back when we were here last time and how to do it, it made a lot of sense to coordinate them for a variety of reasons. One of the big ones is the town already has a park impact fee, but state law does require you to update those numbers every 5 years. So the things that Dan is talking about, what does that look like in terms of cost? Pretty ideal time to start thinking about that in terms of how that might impact that park impact fee number in terms of whether it goes up or down. The needs assessment, which we'll get into in a couple slides, is a big part of that. The other part, and I think this is just being alluded to, is that ordinance that re-upped it 5 years ago is coming up on its expiration date in July. So wanted to start getting all these wheels in motion now while Dan was doing his work to start thinking about all those needs and how they fit together. So we're here to just provide another update to our part of the process on that. It starts with an inventory. And so that's what we've been working on. Lucky for us, staff has done a great job of tracking these things, looking at the conditions. So I've spent most of today driving around doing this, looking for just to supplement that to make sure everything's in there it needs to be, in particular looking for ADA issues, things like that. But as we go through that process, that's what we've been spending a lot of our time on that, and also, which is really looking to explain, I think I alluded to this on the previous slide, but the inventory is very important. When you look at how that state statute is stacked up, it's very important that you have these numbers. It's all based on demand and what you need to fix. Demand comes from obviously these capital improvements that you're eligible to spend on, but also growth. I know Dan mentioned it in his slide that St. John's is certainly growing. We looked at some of the permit and subdivision data for approvals, and there's been about 500 new homes approved in the last 4 to 5 years, minimally, at least based on the information we had. You know, average household size in St. John's is about 2.8, so you could be adding, or already have added a portion of 1,400 people since the last time this fee was updated. So all those numbers fit into what we're working on now to make sure we know what the appropriate number should be, which brings us really to that state process. The state law is very clear on what that looks like. The existing levels of service, what we think the future levels of service on, so permit data, growth, all those things we were just talking about, all feeds into this. And then it has a very defined process. It starts with creating an impact fee committee. They're the ones that review it, and the state statute is very specific on this, and that's part of what we've been working with staff and the board president on, is figuring out all the pieces that need to be on there. You have to have certain folks involved in the development community, for instance, involved in that. It's very specific because they want to make sure it's not just residents picking this fee. That's the way it works. So we spend a lot of time working through, make sure we have the absolute right process in place, since it is such a well-defined process. We didn't want to have any missteps. Big part of that is making sure we set this up for the future, so it's very easy to just update it, have the right process in place. And then I mentioned this earlier, but it's required every 5 years, and we're kind of at that time frame now. So some of the key deliverables, we're going to be incorporating Dan's information. We're going to finish the existing facilities inventory within the next couple weeks. We'll use that, and so the landscape architects also work in our group. We're going to use them to create basically project cost estimates over the next 5 years for all these various projects that Mike's identified a majority of, just to make sure we have some accurate numbers. Compare that with the needs. That all builds in. The state law does define a formula for this. We'll crunch all those numbers and make sure we get the fee out, and then really be looking to get into that legal process to make sure it's all approved and ready to go, hopefully by the end of July. So that's a big part of where we're focusing on. The way we scope this out, we know that St. John's is also getting close to needing to update their 5-year Parks and Rec master plan. That's a different state agency requires that you update that every 5 years. There's about a year offset between the two right now, so that clock doesn't expire for a year after the impact fee, but the two processes are so similar, especially in terms of inventorying, looking for ADA items, creating budget costs for these projects. We've basically been running this like we would that part of the project. So you can basically take all this information and lead it right into your next park and rec plan update. And so once we have the park fee impact in place, we're going to use the rest of the time that we had allotted to basically start writing that plan, the portions that we can with just the data, and turn that over to staff so they can use that in their next update to make sure we're figured we're already going through this effort. We might as well put it into a format that's usable for multiple projects. So that's really where we're at now. That's what we're working on. As we look at the schedule, we've been working with staff through those teleconferences, doing the inventory update, getting the fee ordinance structure set in place, working with legal counsel to do that. And here we are, trip 1 for progress update, doing the inventory. We'll be working with staff to get on agendas with either the impact fee committee and/or this group again to start working through the process. So we'll be, it's really a little bit more on the next slide, we'll be coming back in pretty rapid succession in the next couple months to make sure we're hitting all the timelines we need to per state law. So that's really where we're at this point. I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Are we going to be able to get the town council adoption of this by a July 26th date?
It's going to be tight.
Yeah, we should be okay because we got a lot of inventory done that we worked on a while back, so that helps sped the process up a little bit. I mean, we've been meeting every 2 weeks, so I think we're sitting okay as long as we stay on track.
Yeah, we really spent the last month focusing on the framework to make sure everything's set up and ready to go in pretty rapid succession.
And I think we've cleared some legal hurdles too, right, Nicole, as far as getting all our ducks in a row as far as that goes?
Yes, I mean, obviously, you know, as Matthew's laid out, the time frame on this for the passage to have to happen, there's a 6-month delay when then it's effective, so it's not till January, but obviously those deadlines need to take place. if there are any delays that cause there to be a problem with that, something that comes up that, which is always the possibility, it doesn't void, it doesn't undo the work, it just, you know, there's a lapse then in any period of time if something was, impact fee could not be imposed during that period of time. But it does not stop this process or evade it in any way. So by all means, it's a matter of still proceeding forward and, you know, trying to make up as much of that time as possible.
Yeah, it's a great point. I think it's probably good to point out that the fee is paid at the time of building permit.
Right.
So if there was a lapse for a month, you know, it would only affect any permits issued in that time frame.
Only during
So
that window. And that's
Yeah, it's
always
only
the
during that window,
belief,
but yeah.
I believe, is that the perception is that if there's, it's not uncommon because of the process that goes into this, the time expense, the mandatory 6-month delay that happens with the effective date, to have that lapse is not at all uncommon. But it is a belief that, you know, it voids all these projects or something, and it does not at all.
Yeah, I think, if we can avoid the lapse, we just prefer
Absolutely,
to. Is
absolutely.
kind of why we're driving towards those end
Looking
dates.
forward to hopefully
Yeah.
satisfy and meet that deadline.
Absolutely.
I don't want the town council getting mad at us.
They're aware.
No, I just think that, you know, I think we kind of grew into some of the legal challenges that we had and the steps that we needed to go through. Because most of us are new to this. It was a growing process and a learning process along the way, so. And as that Matt had, and David, their legal had talked about, this is what we need to do. I know Nicole and David have had some conversations, so we've kind of got some things rectified that way, and we're ready to move forward. But yeah, it's a tight window, I'm not gonna lie. But it's gotta be done, and we just felt that with the assessment and the impact, it almost simultaneously works together, so it was kind of foolish. And that's kind of how we decided on using American Structure Point, because they could collaborate the two, and we wouldn't have to go through the infighting, so to speak, of two separate entities going, yeah, I don't like that. You know what I'm saying? So this is gonna make it the smoothest transition possible.
Okay.
These gentlemen have done a terrific job so far, so yeah, I'm excited about moving forward.
We need to do
Nothing?
nothing.
Yeah, tonight's
more-
just an update for informational
just an
purposes.
update?
Yeah, there's no action required.
Do you have any other questions? Because like I said, Mike and I have sat in on some of these Zoom meetings, so we're getting a little bit more information, and I don't want to involve you guys in it. I just figure some of the stuff is just stuff to talk about, and we know what we need and where possible sites could be, because when we started looking at potential for 7-8 acres or more, that kind of handcuffs us in this town. There's not a lot of plots that are available for that. And if we delay this any longer, then we'll be done
Right,
at the rate we're going, so.
Yes. Agree.
Anything, Mike? Thank you, sir.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, item C. Ball field, outfield fence, yellow capping, Heartland Park softball field and Civic Park baseball field. Mike?
Yep, so this is a conversation, started with looking at Civic Park, actually. I know if we go over there, some of the capping is, this needs to be replaced. It's been there for a while. The fencing is popping through the yellow capping. And then we had a meeting with softball, the youth softball organization, and they were looking at it too. And so what I have here is I was looking out for prices to purchase the yellow capping, basically for the softball, the 4 fields at Heartland Park softball, and to replace the 2 fields at Civic Park, the rookie field and Miller Field. So I had 2 different prices here. One was from BSN Sports, another one was from Beacon Athletics. BSN Sports came at a better price. So I Google mapped all the fields, and it came about, each roll is 250 foot, and I approximately, and I measure kind of everything, so approximately we were going to need 15.124 rolls, basically, to equal out. The estimate total was 3,781 foot. With some over measuring too and stuff like that. I think 14 rolls would be just work just fine for us. So my recommendation here was to get a motion from you guys to go ahead and approve this purchase from BSN Sports. That would have been $4,340 for the 14 rolls of the fence capping. The youth softball did say that they would install it. If we would get it, which I think that's fine, and then I haven't talked to baseball or anything like that, but I'll work on getting that installed for Civic Park, as well and stuff. So,
Well, I think from a safety aspect, it's just a smart thing.
and it makes it look nice. It'll make us match too. I know baseball has it already at Heartland Park. I'm not sure how that was purchased or anything, but I think it would make the park look nicer. Civic will look good. Be upgraded a little bit too and stuff. So. And BSN is a vendor that we've used for other items too. So anyway, but yeah, I was just looking for a motion to go ahead and start that project.
I see on the one it says the cable ties. The other one doesn't have that. Is that something?
Yes, I can ask. Yes, I didn't ask for the cable ties. Beacon Athletics put that in there. I can go back and ask, order them. Through BSN Sports, they have them too. Other idea was to just get them. From Menard, see if they had anything. Because I don't know, the ones over at Hart, I know they do use them. They're yellow, so they match. So it wouldn't be a bad idea. It just helps to keep it down, more and stuff like that too. With this particular roll too, I mean, it does grip pretty good. So I've seen them. I've done them before, and we have used them. And there's times we haven't used them. And, they're not going to blow off or anything like that if we don't use them, as well. Unless you guys, think so. And
So you're
stuff.
thinking not to use anything?
I was
to tie 'em
thinking,
down?
yes, that's what yes, yeah.
It's been my experience that tying them down is a smart way to go, because otherwise kids will pull them off. Just for nothing else better to do.
Yeah, okay. Yeah,
No, that's just,
yeah, no, that's fine. I mean, that's not a problem. I can add it on to with
and then they
BSN
float in a
Sports.
nearby pond as a big yellow serpent. And then sink.
Yeah, the other reason I was thinking that too, because when they do pop or if they do rip off, then they're just same thing with the windscreen. They're just everywhere.
Right.
And then if nobody picks them up, then they just sit there. That's all and stuff like that. So.
Well, BSN, it's a smaller freight number. It's a smaller, even if we had to pay the $400 or $500 for the ties, we're still thousands of dollars ahead. So, any other questions? All right, then I would entertain a motion to have a contract for BSM for the yellow capping for the softball fields at Heartland Park and the Civic Park fields here for baseball. And I would say we probably, because we don't know if that's going to cost us for the twisties or the cable ties or whatever, maybe cap that number at $5,000.
If assuming it's the same, I would go $5,100.
Okay, $5,100?
Yeah.
All right, so then I'll entertain a motion for $5,100, not to exceed
Not to exceed,
$5,100.
Yeah.
And then, Mike, you would need the power to sign, right? You want a separate motion for that?
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
Okay.
That's fine.
Well, then we'll just entertain a motion for BSM Sports for $5,100, not to exceed $5,100 for the yellow capping.
So moved.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I will second that.
All right, I have a second from Cindy. So then all in favor of doing this with BSM for that amount, signify by saying aye. Aye. Any nays? Nope, the ayes have it. That'll move forward with that. Okay. Held Park Pavilion bird netting.
Okay, so this is a continuation of some of the other bird netting that we've done. We've done one at the dog park. We've done one at Larimer Park. Homestead Acres was already scheduled to be done. The next one would be Health Park. There's pictures down here at the bottom just to kind of see what it would look like. This is at the dog park down the bottom. You can see the new tables that we put out there as well. So this tremendously eliminates the bird droppings. It's much cleaner. Held Park, for instance, like the two HOA members that were here last month, we removed one table because it was just covered with droppings and stuff like that. And that one gets hit pretty good as far as nesting. So this particular company, just a quick recap, is another wild goose chase. They specialized in geese removal, and that's not killing or anything like that. That's just reducing the amount, and birds. So these guys would come out to Held Park, and this would be for $8,500. And they would do the netting over at Held Park. This was painted last month as well, and this would just be the next one on the list. After this, the plan was to go to Shilton Hills Park and do that netting as well. But I was just going to the plan was, in a sense, to just do them one at a time.
This is very good, because there is a rare disease that goose poop.
Yeah, no, it's
histoplasmosis.
It's not fun to work around, that's for sure. And they've done the other parks.
Yeah, they did.
We've had good working relationships.
Oh yeah, they were fine. They did Larimer Park, like I said, the dog park. Homestead Acres is scheduled. You didn't see it out there when you were out there. Yeah, that is scheduled. They're going to be out there soon to do that. But yeah, I mean they do. I think they do a good job. So.
All right, now is that already in the budget, Homestead Acres?
Yes.
I thought so.
Homestead, yeah, that was.
So this would be the next one after Homestead.
Correct. Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Technically, for this year, I had two on my like list and stuff like that. So Shilton Hills, I was going to hold off on just to reevaluate, because I want to do one at a time, then kind of reevaluate what we had, and then we go from there and stuff like that. If we can fit it in. If we can't, then
it makes sense to kind of co-op that with the painting part of it, so that we're basically doing two things at the same time.
And then it's cleaner and
right,
stuff.
and it's done. Okay. Well, then I would entertain a motion to have a contract with another wild goose chase for the netting at Held Park.
And then if I could sign it too.
Yep.
Barb Tuesley, so moved.
For $8,500. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, so we have a motion, we have a second. All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay. And then the second motion I will accept is the Mike O'Shea superintendent can sign off on this contract so that it gets done. I will entertain a motion for that.
I will make a motion.
Thank you, Cindy. Do I have a second?
I'll second that, Barb.
Thank you,
Tuesley.
Barb. So I have a motion, I have a second for Superintendent O'Shea to sign the contract with another wild goose chase for the tune of $8,500. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. Okay. Gates Park Improvement Project, task order 22-01. If you would elaborate, Mike.
Yeah, sure. So this was brought up last week. The clerk's office brought this to my attention, but we, as a board, you guys approved an amendment to task order 2201 in March. That was for $34,800. I'm sorry, it was for additional $22,500, and then there was additional $40,000 for construction engineering. The original task order, which the work has started, obviously, as you guys are aware, was signed by our town manager, but it needs to be approved by the Park and Recreation Board. This particular amount for the task order is $34,800, which again was initially signed off on September the 14th of 2022. And there was also $10,000 for additional construction engineering in there. Obviously, like I said, this work has started. They've turned in 3 invoices. But it was brought up to me that we had to, as a Park and Recreation Board, had to sign off on it and officially approve it. So again, we approved the addendum in March. So this is a sense going backwards and going over the original contract from September 14th, of 2022.
So as I understand it, this was just something that, an oversight from the then town council, who was the authority to spend the money, correct?
Yeah, I mean, yes. I mean, I guess it just
It's
needed.
just an oversight.
It just,
I
yeah,
understand.
it needed proper approval, and just so the Park and Rec Board now can okay it. So I did ask them, I have, what you see in your packet is basically the contract that I got from the town council office, and with showing the town manager's signature. So I sent it over to Robinson, and I asked them if they could basically add my signature line. I had signed the addendum one back in March. So this is basically the same thing, just now adding Parks and Recreation signature down to the bottom, and then obviously okaying it here at a meeting. And then I also put in the addendum just so you guys can reference as well, just so you can see.
Nicole, anything you'd like to add with that?
Wasn't it September of 22
Yes.
when that was?
Yeah. So, and on the task order here, up on top, it says here to approved on September 14th, 2022.
But that, my recollection was that was in front of a meeting, but it wasn't from what you could find.
Yeah, yes, correct. We couldn't find it from being at a meeting.
Okay. And it's probably, yeah, safest to do that.
Yeah.
I thought this had been, but I could be mistaken.
Yeah, I thought it was. I thought it was. I was
Of the
well,
same
maybe I was
mindset?
assuming and stuff
Okay.
like that because the date was on there. The December 14th date is a Friday as well, so I don't know if. So I was almost assuming, I guess, that there would have been a meeting date.
Yeah, I
but-
thought this was a follow-up to a task order that had been approved, and then it was just the final drafting of it. But regardless, absolutely, it's just for further assurance and safe
Yeah.
approvals for that to, obviously, this was part of the original project and then was kind of those anticipations as the next steps and work were being done. So this is clearly what was contemplated on the front end of being the
Yes.
phasing of the project.
Yeah, and you know, like I said, they've turned in 3 invoices so far, and I don't think we've been able to officially pay. We haven't paid them yet, but this is part of the.
So what's the actual number we're looking for, Mike? Is it the 34,800 plus the 10?
Well, this initial task order is the $34,800
Right.
plus the $10,000 for.
Okay.
So that's what I'm looking for right now. We already did the addendum, which was
Right.
the additional 22
Right,
plus the
which was
40.
the second part of that. That
Correct.
was what we did before.
Correct. So it just.
In other words, we did the second item before we paid for the first.
Yes,
That's how I understand it,
yes.
The
correct?
second was approved by us, yes. The first one was
Okay.
with,
So then I will entertain a motion to, and I guess it's an RTP, right? Basically?
well, we would, I would have to, yes,
Rewrite it?
I would have to write it as an RTP that I would send then to the town manager's office, then would go to the clerk's office. So, yes, yes, so then
To Robinson, correct?
RTP to Robinson. yeah,
Okay.
Yeah,
For the amount of then $44,800 is if we add the two together?
adding the two together, yeah, that's the total part. It was split off, just the
I understand.
10,000, yeah, okay, all right.
So then I will entertain a motion for that.
Barb Tusley, so moved.
Okay, do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, so we have a motion, we have a second. We will then have a vote to spend the additional $44,800 to Robinson Engineering for work done. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, then we need a motion for Mr. O'Shea to be able to sign off on that so that we get that all taken care of with the RTP. Do I have a motion for that?
Barb Tusley makes a motion.
Okay, we have a motion for that.
I will second that.
Cindy, thank you for the second. So we have a motion, we have a second, so that Superintendent O'Shea can sign off on this RTP to Robinson Engineering for the $44,800. All in favor of this motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. Okay. Then, old business, Gate Park Improvement Project update.
Yeah, and this will just be brief. We were hoping to have a plan, a draft plan that I was going to share with you guys, but they're just not quite ready yet, mainly on the, what's that called? Grading, the grading plan. They're still finalizing on the grading plan and everything like that. But otherwise, I mean, we're pretty good shape. We should have a lot more information than for June. And I was hoping to have the set of plans also that I can, and probably I would share before then and such. But doing good. And I know last time we asked about cost, the engineer, Robinson Engineering, they wanted to wait till the grading plan was done before they had a better idea on the overall cost and stuff like that with doing everything. So that's all. I don't have much on that particular update, but.
And do you think we'll have that by June?
Yes, because originally he had told me, he was like, yeah, I think originally it was yes, we should have plans for today and stuff like that, just to share, but he wasn't confident enough on the grading part of it, which I said, that's fine. I said, just, let's get it sent over.
Well, we just have a lot, we're trying to squeeze a lot of things going into June and July with some of these other things that we've got on the board, so it's just gonna make it, everything kind of backs up.
Yeah.
I get it.
So,
Okay. That ends old business reports. Councilman Aurelio, anything to report?
What I would like to say is I want to welcome our newest member, Cindy Seuss, from our LC members. So I wanted to say, look forward to working with you and welcome.
Thank you.
So, and I appreciate everybody's hard work on all of these, the facility, impact and, in moving forward with a possible community center. Just appreciate your efforts on that. So they're big projects, so appreciate it. Thank you.
Town manager is not here tonight, so unless Jason has something that you want to chime in with, no? Anything? No, okay. You can say no out loud. Yeah, we're gonna get to that. Okay, anything from the board members themselves? Any questions, concerns?
Any update on the batting cage?
Yes. So,
You're gonna bring that up.
this was about 2.5 weeks ago, and I just didn't send it out. But we're still working with SDI. Beacon Athletics was who they were ordering from and stuff like that. I guess they were having a lot of issues. So we're basically going with another vendor now. Still working with SDI, but he reordered everything so we have. It's not going to change the price or anything for our end and stuff like that. Everything will still be the same. It realistically should have been done, probably a month and a half ago. And I've been hounding him, asking too, like where's it at and stuff like that. So it basically was reordering, and he promised as soon as he has it, he'll get it up, right away and stuff like that. So again, he apologizes. I know I said that last meeting too and stuff. But but it's not going to. The price won't change. None of that will change. But we'll still.
Same setup and everything?
Same setup. Everything will be the same as we were showing and stuff like that. So it'll be good. I know it's the unnecessary wait, but it'll be a good wait once it's done. So
Well, hopefully we'll get it done as soon as possible.
Yeah.
Okay, Barb or Cindy, anything you guys want to add? Questions, concerns? Okay. So we'll move on to item number 8, which is any and all, which is going to encompass this last piece of literature that Superintendent O'Shea gave you, and that was about the Cedar Valley invoice that our clerk treasurer had a question on. She pulled that RTP from the purchase packet that we had because of a difference in bill to assessment. So Mike, if you would explain that.
Yeah, sure. So, as you know, at the February meeting, we okayed the project to happen. It was at $11,352, so that was okayed. When giving the permit to the vendor, they were not a registered vendor for the town of St. John. So they had to go through all that process of doing the paperwork. He came back and said that he was going to have to raise the price slightly because of it, which I said okay. It's basically a difference of $688. Originally, I told them to get under the RTP would remove one park And then later went back and said, just go ahead and do that and send the invoices. So we okayed the $11,352 back in February with the addition, the two invoices that you have basically that I showed in front of you and stuff like that. One was for $11,165, which that was under the RTP, but then there was the other one for $875 basically. So altogether, it's $12,040, which was an added amount of $688 from the original price.
So you're just looking for then an amendment to that
Yes.
RTP?
Yeah, and in the packet too, I have it, you know, I changed it as of the date of today and stuff like that. And I did not go back to the RTP to update it yet. I didn't email it out to you guys or anything like that, but we just, yes, so basically now I was just looking to amend that, so now it would be $12,040 total for the work.
So we're looking for that as additional $688.
Correct, yeah, it would be the same line item, all that would be the same.
Okay. So then I will entertain a motion to amend our RTP to Cedar Valley on their invoice for an additional $688 to match up with what we actually had work done for.
Barb Tusley, so moved to make it 12,040.
Okay. So I have that. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Thank you, Mike. So I have a motion, I have a second. All in favor of the additional $688 to a total of $12,040 signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. So that takes care of anything that I have for any and all. Anybody else have anything they can think of? And then we'll move on to number 9, public comment. Does anyone out there like to have the microphone?
You want to start or no? I can. He just was asking for an update about Lake Hills that we talked about last time. So just quickly, I did meet with Reef Fence out there for the gate over at Lake Hills. So that's in process. Obviously, it's not up there now and stuff like that, but that will be happening here soon. They measured everything out, and will be a gate, a black coated gate basically that will kind of will swing and stuff. So we'll block off that back parking lot, which I know we talked about being a good idea. And then Jason and I did meet out there about the cameras. I don't have anything else unless you have anything else on your end on camera end. But we did talk out there. We did walk and kind of try to figure out what would work. In a sense, it would only be in that area. You had said it was about 150 yards. No, I can't remember what you said.
The cameras would potentially reach a radius of about 100 feet, 98 to be exact. That would cover a small portion of the overall park.
I think it would cover the amphitheater pretty much, and about halfway going out to the amphitheater. So we wouldn't see the lake or anything like that, or the playground side. So yeah, looking at the screen.
It would just be like a motion camera?
No,
No, it would be out all the time?
correct.
Okay. And why not a motion camera? Because it is animals or whatever, or?
One moment, and I will.
One thing about the motion, a lot of times they don't sense the motion.
I understand.
We have that at the school, we have like over 400 cameras in there. And we had to turn it to always on because we'd miss stuff in the back of the room that would happen.
Correct.
I'm using that as an example.
Well, I get it.
We always had the motion on.
Any
ours.
drawback to them being on all the time?
No.
You go through your memory a lot quicker.
Right,
yeah,
yeah,
but-
yeah, and,
Obviously, but. other than
no,
that.
I understand.
Very good, thank you.
Oh, I'm not the specialist, that's you. But
You answered that perfectly.
thank you.
Well, you work with so many cameras.
Right.
you know.
No, I'm just, I was trying to address the need, and if that'll help, I guess it's a step in the right direction.
But basically, you have your one light pole here at the center of this radius, and basically, you're only going to be covering this section of the park. Anything in this area you're not going to catch because of trees and, you know, other obstacles that are in its path. The porta potty, which is in this area, you're not going to get it.
Okay.
So it's up to you if you want to move forward with it. The ballpark pricing for everything is about $6,000 plus the cost of the electrician to put the wiring and mounting the box and everything at the appropriate height on the pole.
Okay.
I don't do high voltage.
And have we got any type of a quote from Reeves on what that fencing will cost?
I don't have it yet from them. So we met last week at Heartland Park because they're doing the Heartland Park project out there too. So,
Okay.
Yeah.
You want a motion here?
No, I think at this point, until we find out what the fencing is going to cost, or the gate, I should say, and Jason, could you have a little bit harder number for us next month?
Sure.
As far as what that would cost?
Yes.
If he would do that, then we would have some real data that we could at least discuss.
What's the lead time on the purchase of the item? Do you know?
Well, I'm recommending 2 cameras, 2 brackets to mount the cameras to it. You're looking at a NEMA box to enclose all the hardware, a cradle point, an antenna, a SIM card, plus the electrician to come out and...
Yeah. Do you know how long it's going to take?
The cameras are...
If you purchased it today, when would it be delivered?
The cradle point and all that's about 2 weeks. The cameras are about a month.
Okay. So we're taking time away from prime time summer.
Correct. But I don't like to arbitrarily spend money that I'm not sure what we're talking about. I would much rather have a little bit more hard information, because if the camera is, let's say, 6 to 8 and the gate is 5 to 6, now we're talking 10 to 12, and that's at least worthy of a discussion. Anybody else want to chime in on
Is this
that?
where we're finding where all the vandalism is
Yes.
happening? Is this?
Well,
area here,
I'm not
or-
sure, I'm not sure if that's the primary location. I just think in general, we've had issues.
Yeah, I mean, there was garbage cans over there that were damaged and blown up and stuff, and then those picnic tables that you see on there, those are the tables that get thrown into the lake. But I mean, we have issues at the playground. Recently we had an issue at the playground just a few weeks back, and then there's been stuff on the pier as well. That sign, there's a sign right next to the left of the pier that when you enter in the pier, that sign was just recently stolen. It's probably in the bottom of the lake actually. So and that was actually a replaced sign. So it's probably the same group, and if we can obviously catch them up there, then it'll make a difference.
Equal opportunity vandals.
Yeah. So.
Are we
That's
hoping
what I was
they
gonna
finally
say.
get old enough to
They're
move
hitting all over
out?
the park. It's
Right,
not-
right.
it's
No,
not
no,
just-
and
not in
that's
that
why I
area.
think that discussion has to happen, because
Right.
if we're covering 100 feet in a circle, I mean, that's what, 2% of the entire park? I mean, it's almost a frugal effort. But yeah, it's something, I don't know,
One thing that would help there, because we do the concerts out there, so that would not be a bad thing, as we do
Correct.
those out there.
Sure.
The summer camps out there too and stuff like that too, so.
well, I'm not saying it's not, it's something to talk about, but I think we need some hard numbers before we can actually think about what's in the best interest. Any questions from you, sir?
Yeah, so my name again was Mitch Day. I live in Lake Hills on South Branch. I guess a lot of the vandalism seems like it has to do with the pier. So I think there are some other street lights along there. So I'm kind of thinking that's not a very big radius, and that circle probably isn't the best spot. The best spot might be something that would encompass the pier. So might be another location that you could give consideration to as well.
We did look at the street lights, the path lights, and I don't think that was going to work though, correct? I mean, Jason could explain more.
Most of those streetlights are probably 277 volts or 440 volts, basically main line voltage. And the cameras run at standard, well, they're PoE powered, so they run at 12 volts. But the rest of the equipment's standard household current at 120. You're looking at transformers, step-down transformers to, massage the power down to what we need. That adds cost. It also adds heat.
I do believe if you look closely, I'm not sure if it's the one that's right by the pier, maybe it's the one by the playground area, but it does have outlets on it. So you just might need to look at that a little bit more closely because you might already have proper power available. So, and I'd be happy to meet with you out there to take a look at that. The development has put up lights around Christmas time off those poles as well. So I know those just plug into a standard outlet on the light. Not all of those street lights have them, but most of them do. So might need to look at that a little bit closer if you determine that those other locations might be better alternatives.
Field trip number 2.
Okay, no, I mean, this is all good information. I mean, we have to start somewhere, and I think the gate's going to be a big start, but if they're walking in, then the gate doesn't do anything.
Yeah, and signage that the area may be under electronic surveillance.
Right.
You can't put that up soon
yeah,
enough.
Any deterrent we can come up with is something.
Correct. There's no reason that can't be put up even ahead of, any other actions to actually install equipment. So, and then the only other option, or the only other question that I had raised, I think last month, was regarding those 2 satellite areas that weren't officially parks, but we didn't know what they were at the intersections of Crooked Bend and Parkside Lane. I just didn't know if there was any other progress on trying to either move those to become official parks or, to clarify exactly what they are, because they're just unmanaged green spaces, and one of them has never even had the appropriate sidewalks installed by the town. So that's just my other hot topic.
I think the gentlemen that were here tonight that were doing some of the feasibility study, okay, we did have that discussion because we talked about possibly whether we brought different things in or maybe eliminated some of these neighborhood parks that are inclusive that we can't get at with parking, this, cetera. So that's all going to be information that they're going to bring back to us, and we are going to be able to at least look at that and see what our next step is. But as it stands right this very moment, nothing has changed.
Okay, and those are not on the list of 22 existing parks, so that would require somebody to...
They are not parks.
Right, that would require somebody to ask American Structure Point to go out there and actually see those and make a determination or make a recommendation about whether they should be or shouldn't be, and if they shouldn't be, what they should be considered and how they should be best handled.
We have had conversations to that end. It just, I don't know to what end they were going to assess what we have permanently right now and then anything else, including future space for the community center. I mean, there's a lot of moving parts here, so.
Very good, thank you.
Okay.
And just there will be a sign. Lake Hills Park I have a sign for that says Lake Hills Park, so that will be up there soon. And the one was put in over by Whitewater Crossing over there, so.
Anything else?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I will